Your boy, RVA from VA, Richmond to be exact. And I'm back again, back like I never left. Yeah. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I know you missed me. But let's be honest here. Man, oh man, has this season taken a turn from the beginning? And you may be asking yourself what I mean by that. This season has taken a turn from the beginning. Let's paint this story, right? We started this season with, I can't speak for everybody, but I know for me, expectations. Um, expectations of being a competitive ball club, expectations of competing for a playoff spot in the NFC, expectations to possibly win a game or two in the postseason. Looking at this thing on paper, outside of some questionable positions, it seemed that this year we were going to see a major leap, from the offense in particular, and hopefully with this defense and the pieces on the defense, see somewhat of a resurgence and a little more gelling with that unit as well. And even with not having Chase Young starting this season, I felt comfortable knowing that we had what it looked like on paper, a pretty capable group that should keep us in ball games. But in no way could anybody have told me that the defense would outperform this offense. But here we are, the night before a Thursday night matchup with the Chicago Bears, and we're a bad football team. The record for this team, as everybody knows, is 1-4. And we're going into a Thursday night game, and I'm not going into it with any expectations. I'm not going into it upset. I'm going to watch my team because this is my team, and I will ride with them no matter what. Hopefully in my lifetime, I will be able to see a competitive ball club and potentially a Super Bowl. But as we know right now, it seems that the Ron Rivera experiment has climaxed, ladies and gentlemen. And it doesn't seem that, what up, bro? It doesn't seem that he can take us any further. And that's just being blatantly honest. Ron came into Washington, and a lot of us had a lot of gratitude, or I'll speak for me. I had a lot of gratitude knowing that we had such a respectable head coach coming to our organization at a time where there was so much dirt and filth surrounding this organization, that knowing a coach like Ron Rivera coming here was something that seemed just absolutely magical in that moment. And I don't want to take away from his character. I will never do that. I won't sit here and bad talk the man off the field. But this year in particular, because it's year 3, let's keep that in mind. This roster is made in Ron's image, from the quarterback position to the O-line, to the linebackers, to the DBs, to the draft picks, coaching staff. This roster is made in Ron Rivera's image. So now the fans are allowed to bring the pitchforks out, the bats with barbed wire, and we are allowed to expect more. Got 2 comments here. Yes, sir. What up? That's my little brother. What's going on, man? Glad you on this channel with me, checking out the stream. Another comment. Man, being a Commanders fan is so hard right now. We're the only team in the NFC East taking L's right now. Yeah, bro. It's sad. Sad state of affairs. And with the talent on this roster is unacceptable. Whether you want to talk about the deficiencies at O-line, Ron Rivera is doing, whether you want to talk about the depth at linebacker, right now, thank God, we're not having catastrophic issues at that position. Jamin Davis is showing a little promise. I love him, these last couple of weeks in coverage. Cole Holcomb, he does what Cole Holcomb does, gets, leads the team in tackles. The defense to some degree has shored up. They finally got a little smart and took William Jackson III off the field. There's a controversy there. He thinks he has a magical injury that the coaching staff doesn't know anything about, but apparently they took him off the field because he's injured. But Ron Rivera didn't mention any of that. And then also looking at the injury report right here, it says back, but he was a full participant on Monday, Tuesday, limited. Okay, well, from what I gathered, it doesn't seem that was the reason he was taken off the field. But for whatever reason he was taken off, I'm glad he was taken off the field. But back to the main point. This roster, this team is made in Ron Rivera's image. He brought the quarterback in that he believed could take this roster to the next step. And let's talk about some of the things that is making this so much worse for what Ron Rivera is experiencing right now. You have Brian Daboll come into the New York Giants organization. I cannot even tell you, outside of Darius Slay, I couldn't tell you who the rest of their receivers are. Daniel Jones at quarterback. We all know what he is. He's essentially a bigger Taylor Heineke in my eyes, with maybe more power in his arm, but his decision-making isn't the greatest. Saquon Barkley taking snaps out of the backfield, Wildcat style. Whatever they have to do to win games, they are doing. Defense is playing really good. Wink is over there now from Baltimore, and he's getting it out of those guys. They're very aggressive. They blitz, but hey, it's working over there. You got Philadelphia. We seen how they moved in the offseason. And we all said, well, I said that, I wanted to see it on the field first. I was never a believer in Jalen Hurts. I knew he could run the ball. I've always called him an extra running back. But he's made some throws this year. And that team is undefeated. And you got the Cowboys with Cooper Rush, the backup quarterback. And they've only lost one game. And they have a very respectful defense as well. So you got the whole NFC East. Those three teams alone only have 2 losses. I'm bunching them together. And then you have us with losses that are just absolutely insane. It's crazy. It's not even close. So Ron Rivera, he has to unfortunately lay in the bed that he made. Big Money Sonny, what up? What's good? He says, what's up, my guy? Glad you come to check out the stream. Kick it with your boy. Yeah, we talking about it all, man. We laying it out tonight. I know we got a game tomorrow, and I will get to that. But right now, I mean, let's be honest. Who's really focused on that? There's so much more to talk about with this organization that, I'll get to the game. But right now, this is where we are. Another comment, Miss Perry. Yo, KP, what up? What up? Appreciate the love, fam, coming to check out the stream. In my title, you seen, I said I have a guest coming on the channel. Last time I had this guy on the channel, the conversation was totally different. So now I'm bringing him back on, and I would love to see, and we're going to talk about it and see where he is and chop it up. So got my man Logan joining the screen right now. What's up, man? Can you hear me?
What's up? Hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Am I good? All right. My
Hold up.
fault. It's a little bit laggy.
Yeah, you're freezing up a little bit over there. Um, Still frozen up. 1 second. Let's answer these comments. V1K1 Gaming. What do you think we should do? We're gonna get to that. 1 second. Big Money Sunny, all love, brother. Always supporting good content. I appreciate that, man. Just start my channel up, trying to get it going. As of recent, my schedule's been crazy. I just started my off-season training for football, so things been a little crazy. But whenever I can get up here and get content out to you guys. But hey, what are we really missing? I mean, we're gonna get on here, we're gonna rant, we're gonna talk about how bad this football team is, and that's the end of it. So, what's up, Logan? Glad you came to kick it with me once again. Loving having you on the channel. If you want to go ahead and plug your stuff, let the people know a little bit about you, you can go ahead and do that.
I love for Washington on Instagram. I love for Washington on YouTube, TikTok. That's basically all I'm at. I'm on Twitter too. My love for Washington. So that's basically all I got.
Cool. Good content on Instagram. Check my man out. He also, like he said, he does the YouTube thing as well with a couple of his boys. Good content. Check those guys out. But I love having Logan on the channel. We talk Commanders football. Last time I mentioned Logan, when we were on here together, we were talking about, I think we were going into the Detroit game and we were breaking down everything. And we now are a couple weeks after that game and we see how most of the points we made in that, were stuff that we didn't execute. And a lot of the stuff we talked about was stopping DeAndre Swift and, making Jared Goff, beat
Yeah.
us and also possibly getting turnovers and stuff like that. We didn't make that happen. So now fast forwarding, where we are as a team. Just give me and the people some of your thoughts overall on what have you seen over these last couple of weeks, and you can answer that question. What do you think we should do from here?
So obviously there's a lot of ground to cover. So many different, things to take away
Yeah,
because there were so many games and so many different results.
right,
Unfortunately, all losses, as we know. But to me, with this last game against the Titans, mainly is what I want to focus on. I think that what we saw in that game definitely kind of brought out, even though it was a loss and it was a really bad way to lose, I think there was a lot of good to take away from that game. Although there's obviously still some really, really bad things that are going on. Obviously the offensive line. There's some questions in terms of coaching staff. There's a lot of problems in the secondary. Linebackers are still a big problem, but the games beforehand were almost they're very, very bad. Obviously we were talking about the Lions last time I was on. Lions game was beyond disappointing, terribly disappointing. They have proven to be a pretty good offense up to this point, except for
right,
last week, but still, terrible defense that we couldn't get anything going again. Lions was bad. Eagles game was bad. We showed a little bit during the Eagles game. We only let them put up 24 points, but still, it's just terrible offense. It was a bad game, bad loss. Cowboys. Cowboys was a terrible, terrible game. And, again, like I said, not to go for too long, so many different things to take from all these games. I do tend to focus on the good, but there's very obviously a whole lot of bad. Again, the offensive line is just absolutely atrocious. I think it was like 16 times Carson Wentz was hit last game, and he had a pretty good game. He had a pretty good game for the pressure he had. He had a really good game up to that last goal line stand where he made some pretty stupid, pretty bad plays, but up to that point, he looked really good. I think he's one of the bright spots of our team. Um, Going in this Bears game, I think what we need to change, or just as a whole, what we should look to change is I'm not ready to jump out on Ron Rivera yet, though I do think that it should be a question. I think he's done some really questionable things. He's made some questionable questionable decisions. Most of all, the most important thing is not who he is as a person, not who he is as a player's coach, but who he is as a manager and, the guy that is kind of leading the charge in terms of adding depth and adding players, building a winning. I don't think he's done a very good job. I think he's missed on way too many players that have been available and kind of right there in his lap. He sits on his hands and he doesn't do anything, and that's a really big problem. Even if he is, I think he's a really good, people coach. Like he's really good with his players, and they obviously respect him. But for one, never vocally taking any of the blame for these losses, just kind of how frustrated he is with the players, and obviously it was a misquote this last he had about Carson Wentz and saying that he's team quarterback. Although it was a misquote, it's still just being that loose with your words and kind of pinning the blame on position or how it's performing. To me, it's just not. There's no real. It doesn't seem like a team coach respect. It's just things that you shouldn't be saying. So there's a lot to work on. If I had to pinpoint a specific position group right now, it's 100% offensive line, because we've had games where the defense has looked solid enough that if our offense is chugging, we could win the game. We should have won the game against the Titans, and that's where my mind is at right now.
Okay, so because the trend of late with everyone is talking about the Ron Rivera subject. If you go on my Twitter, for anybody that follows me, I've been very, very vocal with how I feel. And like you said, I want to say this before I jump into that basket. Ron Rivera is a person. I would never attack him. Great guy. And, when he came to Washington, as I said earlier in this video before you were on, I feel like it was the right medicine at the time. But with that being said, I think we're at a point where I think that trail has come to an end. And it's not because of things that I've seen over a long stretch of time, but when you get to this season, year 3, as everybody likes to talk about, and this roster is made in Ron Rivera's image. I mean, from the quarterback position to the running back, to the changes at the offensive line position, to the DBs, to the DBs he decided to let go with Ronald Darby. This whole thing in this year 3 is made in his image. And I have to, as an evaluator, I have to look at that stuff. And Ron came here, on the terms of it was going to be a coach-centric environment. Ron had to take a lot of bullets for the mess that Dan Snyder left behind. But Ron Rivera learned that it would be a little too much for him. So he decided to bring in the 2 guys to help him, and Marty Herney, and what's the other assistant GM position guy?
Jason Wright?
No, not Jason Wright. Marty Herney, and then he also has
Are you talking about Mayhew?
Mayhew. So you bring these 2 guys in to help you out. And for the talent, like the top of this roster, specifically the skill positions, the decision to bring in William Jackson, like I said, this whole roster was made in his image. So now I have to judge you off that, because this roster, if you look at it, if we were to make a list of rosters around the NFL and put it next to another roster, this roster, with even some of the deficiencies, is a higher level roster than only winning 1 ball game. There's nobody that can tell me otherwise. And this mistakes we've seen Ron Rivera make over the last couple of weeks with the time managing, the throwing of challenge flags. I mean, little stuff that we would think would be simple because you've been a head coach for so long. He is seeming to struggle with. And now, with that being said, the hard questions are starting to be asked. by the media. And I think there's a mixture of Ron Rivera he's at a point where he was very comfortable and feeling that there is no, there's no way that, he will be fired or his position or decisions will be challenged, because let's be honest, Dan Snyder's nowhere to be found. Okay. He's taking everything for Dan Snyder. And now Ron's starting to say things that are just absolutely don't even make sense. Like, you can't even make sense about it. Like, yeah, we know what he did and what he didn't mean to say. But at the same time, after he said that, he continued to talk about other subjects that were just wrong and didn't make any sense. So with the time managing, the decisions he make on challenge, like just blatant stuff, because Ron Rivera isn't calling plays. Scott Turner's doing that. So this stuff that he is dealing with the timeouts and all, it does not look good. We do not look like a good football team. The guys may respect him in the locker room, but we should be able to get way more out of this roster than we are. So with that being said, I think Ron Rivera came here and helped solidify a different culture in the building, but I think his time here has plateaued, and I don't think he can take us to where we ultimately want to go. So we know Ron Rivera is famous for going on these winning streaks and winning 4 or 5 games that, a game or two that we don't expect to win. Yeah. And I feel like if you look at our schedule, for the most part, a lot of the teams that we absolutely knew we were going to beat, coming into the season, where I was like, this is a win for us. I mean, now I can't look at the schedule and say, oh, this is a win, this is a loss. Like, we're going into a Chicago Bears game, and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. So with the Ron Rivera thing, I don't know how I feel about moving on in season, because it doesn't really matter. They're going to promote somebody within, and, they're going to, just man the ship until the all season. Yeah. And then also, who wants to come to Washington? That's the real question. I mean, there's some tempting things here, especially at the skill positions, but I don't have the answers, man. I've just come to that conclusion. This is a very disappointing start. I couldn't foresee it. A lot of the analysts and stuff prior to the season that were coming out with these crazy, records for us, I was just, are you in disbelief? Like, are you serious with the talent on this team? So, when you look at that before the season and we say, look at the talent on this team, even with some of the deficiencies, we didn't know how bad the offensive line was going to be, but there's teams around the league that are dealing with similar issues, injuries, not starting quarterback. So there's no excuse. This is the NFL. There's going to be injuries. Next man up, make it work. Whatever you got to do to win, that's what essentially that's what you have to do. So I don't know, man, but while we're here, let's go ahead and do it. Let's dive into the Chicago Bears game. We're playing the Chicago Bears. We know Justin Fields to, not throw the ball a lot. They want to run the ball. We didn't seem to bottle Derrick Henry up too well on Sunday. But how do you feel about, going into the Chicago Bears game? And, how do you feel about Justin Fields against this defense?
Well, to me, I know that Justin Fields hasn't been, stacking the stats this season. He hasn't been doing amazing. A lot of people, he think of him as like a bottom back, playing great. But I do think he's still a threat, in the passing game. I think that he could easily have like a 300-yard game, do really well against his secondary because of, who the secondary is. But I do think, for one, with the performance from the line, Montez eliminating Casey Hill, F.A. Obata, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne. We obviously still have a really good defensive line, and Fields has been hit more than anybody in the NFL. So we easily a dominant defensive game against Justin Fields and the Bears because offensive line isn't good. Fields isn't amazing. They don't have very many receivers. They're not in a good spot offensively. But again, you know, it doesn't mean anything. We said that about the Jaguars, and they still put up plenty of points on us, almost beat us. You know, it's again just what you're saying. You know, seeing those predictions early in the season where they're predicting us to go have like 3 wins. It's like that's nuts. That's crazy. Look at the talent we have on this roster. Now there's literally no games that I can confidently say we will win. And
Yeah.
although I actually feel really good about this game, like really good, we could genuinely have a very like a nice win. I don't know, man. But I don't know. Justin could have a good day. I do think that the defense will get to him. I think our defensive line will be in his full game. Aside from that, it's just up to the offense. Things going in the first half for once, then we'll have a good game. And we've seen that before. We saw that against the Titans. We actually got things done in the first half, and we were, right alongside the Titans the whole game. So I don't know. It just comes down to what the secondary is able to do and what the offense is able to do. Justin Fields is an enigma at this point. He's still a really talented quarterback who can do a lot of things on the ground and in the passing game. He just recently had the best game of the season for him. Wasn't huge,
Yeah.
but he's obviously improving week by week. So
Of course, it's
for
the
us to
game
come
before.
in and think of it. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was ready to say, of course, he had the best game of his career right before he's about to play us. Because if you look at it, and you probably know this to be true as well, it seems like whatever issues a team may be having or, stuff that they normally don't do too well when they play us, it seems to always go in their favor. Justin Fields will look like Lamar Jackson tomorrow, and Mooney, as my girl Miss Perry said in the chat, Mooney's an absolute beast, and somehow they'll find a way to get some of those explosive plays that Ron Rivera likes to talk about every week. If we could just limit 2 or 3 of those explosive plays, that's one of his favorite lines. At this point with him, I almost just know what he's going to say in his pressers. I don't see the emotion there. It's very disappointing at times. But like you said, for me, looking at this, the Chicago Bears game, I don't know. I really don't know what team you're going to get because we've seen so many different. There's been so many different teams that have shown up on Sundays thus far. Game 1, we got this explosive offense. Week 2, we got a offense that disappears in the first half of the game and then shows up in the second half and looks back explosive. And we're thinking, okay, it was just some O-line woes, and we'll get to it. And then every week since then, the defense for us has been the catalyst thus far. So, this team doesn't have an identity. And I think that's what really, leads to us struggling the way we are right now. I don't think any of the pieces are on the same accord. I think Ron wants to run the ball. I think Scott wants to throw the ball. And then defensively, I got to give Jack Del Rio his flowers somewhat because he's made it respectable, to some degree. They finally pulled William Jackson III. Benjamin St. Juste is playing really good ball. We know what Kendall Fuller is. It is what it is. Bobby McCain. I've never seen a guy in so many plays but not make the play in my life.
They're so committed to it, and I don't know why. It's embarrassing.
That's been the story with him of late. And then this is what I'm talking about with the coaching. A lot of this is coaching stuff. Why is Dax Milne still returning kicks and punts? this is the stuff that like it's very irritating to watch. We don't have no identity. We don't know week to week what we're gonna get. Um, yeah, on paper we should beat the Chicago Bears, but it just all depends on what team shows up. Um, I'm more interested, and this is a sad state of affairs, and I'm sorry that I got you on here, but I'm talking like this, but I'm just keeping it real. I'm more interested in the storylines that are going to be talked about tomorrow while we're playing, than I am, actually winning, because the
Yeah.
NFC East is separating itself at such a level that I don't know what going on a 3-4 game win streak is actually going to do for this team. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, it's crazy that we're here, and it's crazy that this is what we're talking about in October. My
Yeah.
birthday is October the 14th, and you know, we haven't even made it out of October, and this is what we're talking about. But let me ask you specifically, what do we've seen all these different movement they've done on the offensive line. You know, getting inside your thoughts, what would you do with this offensive line to try to put the best unit out there? And then also, if you were in the offensive coordinator's seat, how would you try to aid Carson Wentz in, not getting hit so much, and possibly, just putting this offense in a better state than it is?
That's just one of those questions that it's just kind of hard to figure out the answer to, because coming into the season, it seemed like this was like a really good offensive line, one that's put
Right,
together so well, so much depth. And people can attribute the poor play to injuries or whatnot, but they're still struggling week one. No
right,
injuries, they're still struggling. So it doesn't matter to me. I guess to this point, even though I do like a lot of guys on the offensive line, I think number one, I think a lot of people feel this way. We should 100% be bringing back Eric Flowers, but
mm,
that's a good start. Is Eric Flowers, because he was absolutely amazing last year. I don't
right,
know why we got rid of him. We didn't use the money we gained from
yeah,
getting rid of him, so I don't get the point and losing him. So obviously Eric Flowers is a good move. We really need at least Larson back. We would have been doing good had we kept Keith Ismail, because he was like the 37th graded center last year or something like that when he played. So and he's a young guy. I don't understand
right,
us letting him go, but we don't got him. So I don't know. To this point, I guess all you can do is stick to Nick Martin until Larson is back, because
right,
he has a little bit of chemistry with Carson Wentz, although he was not playing very good last Sunday at all. Um, Nick Martin, pick up maybe Eric Flowers, stick to obviously Charles Leno. I honestly think keeping Cornelius Lucas at right tackle instead of Sam Cosmi would be the move right
mm,
now. Cosmi hasn't looked to me. Cosmi has been struggling on the right side in a lot of
yeah,
ways. He's our most versatile lineman in terms of athleticism, outside of
right,
maybe Wes Schweitzer. That's why we got him. And when he gets out in base, he's chasing down linebackers and safety. He fumbles almost every time. He either misses
right,
his assignment, or he just doesn't get there. He doesn't have the burst to get there. And he's a young guy, so he's obviously he needs the confidence and the time to play. But if we want to win, I think Cornelius Lucas is 100% the best bet. I think him and Leno on both sides would be a good pairing. Leno's a really good vet who has proven time and time again to be a very valuable player when he plays, whether it be backup or starter. So I guess in a lot of ways, you really just want to go back to last year in terms of
right,
offensive line. So, I mean, Eric Flowers, Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas. We got to keep Nick Martin there. Don't know what else to do. Hoping Wes Schweitzer comes back. If Schweitzer's back, move him, or keep him at right guard. If he's not, I don't know, because Trey Turner has been struggling really bad. A guy who I actually really expected a lot from was Trey Turner, and he does not look good. He looked terrible in the Cowboys game. I mean, just absolutely terrible. Just so bad, whiffing on every chance he got. So to that point, I don't know. I mean, You could trust him to pick it back up, but I'm not sure. And Andrew, it's hard, dude, because Andrew Norwell was the best lineman on the Jaguars. I don't understand what
Yeah.
happened in this
Yeah.
last game. He looked like a fifth stringer. It was
Yeah.
disgusting. It was so
Yeah.
bad. I don't know, dude. And to
Yeah.
that point, you just got to be like, do I trust Steve Charles, Trey Turner, or Andrew Norwell more to play at that right guard position? And I don't really know what you say to that question. I guess I might have more faith in Andrew Norwell to pick it up in terms of performance because he hasn't looked terrible this season, but he hasn't looked great either. So if I have to pick between those three, I'd say Andrew Norwell. Sadiq Charles is a good young guy too, so I don't know. Either one there. It doesn't really matter at that point. Preferably Wes Schweitzer. So that's probably what I do offensive line wise. Although if Wes gets back, it probably would be good to put him at center and maybe Norwell or Turner, Sadiq at right guard. In terms of offensive line, that's probably what I do. Eric Flowers is a must. There's no reason not to go get him, right? If he'd like to come back here. But in terms of offensive scheming, and I think this is a huge problem that we've had this season, is there's way too many long developing plays in our offensive playbook. I love Scott Turner as a architecture coordinator. He has really good play design. The problem is almost like maybe 70% of his play design is long developing plays that are reliant on a strong offensive line, blocking for at least 2 seconds. And when you have all these long developing plays that have maybe one short kind of checkout option that's just a little bit shorter than the rest, and you got all these long and medium developing routes that Carson Wentz doesn't have the time to let develop, you're going to struggle offensively. I think if we can condense our offensive playbook, which it's never good to have to condense your offensive playbook because of personnel, but we have to adjust and not keep trying to stick to the philosophy that isn't working. To me that's the story of Ron Rivera's tenure, is
Yeah.
sticking to things that do not work, because
Right.
it's like you want to keep going because it could get better, but it's been proven it hasn't. And I think that 4-game win streak and beating those teams that we did last year put a lot of error in Rivera's head, and kind of gave him this philosophy that, oh no, we can stick to it even if it's not working, because eventually it will. But nothing came of last season, nothing's coming of this season. You have to switch up. And I think if offensively we can just kind of utilize our guys more in terms of just kind of making these shorter plays to set up for longer plays. That's why we did so good against the Titans. That's one thing I noticed, is that's who Carson Wentz is. It's short pass, short pass, short pass, confidence completions to set him up for a big play. Short pass, short pass, short pass, De'Ami Brown, 40 yards, right? Short pass, 60 yards, De'Ami Brown. Things like that, because he's so good when he's in the right position. And if we can keep doing that with him and setting up plays like that, maybe, jet motions with Curtis Samuel, getting Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson out in space, guys like that, when you utilize them and don't always have these long developing plays that you have to wait for these medium routes and these long routes to develop, you're going to do a lot better. If you can round the playbook around the fact that our offensive line is absolutely terrible, then you'll play better. The point is, get the ball out of your hands and get it to our playmakers, because we have so many. So that's my thought offensively, what we should do. I don't know. I think it's kind of just what we're doing right now is not working, and we need to just swallow our pride and fix it, instead of, oh, well, we almost beat the Titans, and last year this was happening to us too, but we went on a 4-game win streak. So, and I'm Ron Rivera, and I like the guys in the building, and we should stick to what we're doing. And it's like, we can't do that. It's, if we can just accept that this is not working, okay, this is not working now, but it will later. This is not working. It didn't work last year. We can accept that and play to our strengths. We'll be a genuinely good team. That's probably controversial to say, but a lot of what's going on, we have really bad position groups that are playing bad, right? But a lot of what's going on is coaching and game plan. That's what I think in terms of offense. Again, this offense could be it could be really, really good. I think we're like the 10th ranked passing offense in the NFL right now. And and we're not, in the game. It's like, where do you see that? What, like, where is that happening? Because it's just not as good as it could be. So if we're 10th right now in terms of passing offense with this offensive line and just, the games that we're losing, if we could just kind of change up our game plan and focus on getting the ball to playmakers in space, not trying to find them deep every single play, right? Then we could have a genuinely good team, because I really, really have faith in Carson Wentz as a quarterback. And I think that we have a lot of playmakers and the ability to be a good team.
Okay. Now I want to bring up two comments that I really love on here. Two valid points. First, Miss Perry said Cosme has struggled with Sheriff being gone. That is absolutely true. You just notice so much more with Sheriff being gone. And I'm not going to sit here and lie. When Sheriff, went, I looked at it like it is what it is. The guy was injured most of the time, but it's definitely noticeable when you have a guy like Trey Turner come in. And we should have knew better from the jump, because during training camp and everything, there was questions about Trey Turner, and, the coaching staff was kind of, to some degree holding the situation away from the media, and talking about he's, trying to get in game shape and, dealing with, injury stuff. There wasn't a lot of time there for him to really gel. And then also that first game against Jacksonville, they were literally rotating guards, I believe. So, there was telltale signs that there was some issues there. And then also, Miss Perry says that's how, to your point, that's how Frank Wright got the best out of Wentz. Why doesn't Turner follow that blueprint? Two good comments from my girl, Miss Perry. And this is the frustrating thing. Like you said, I think that, in a perfect world, offensive line, in Washington, we've been spoiled over the last couple of years. Even with losing Trent Williams, we've been able to, John Maskell's has been able to put a respectable group on the field and them perform pretty well. So Scott Turner, came into this season most likely thinking that, hey, the party's just getting started, because the storyline was always, we're just missing the quarterback with the live arm. So now you get this big arm quarterback that can make all of these throws that you've been looking to make, since you're, been the offensive coordinator in Washington. And, you got all this stuff drawn up, and you're trying to execute it. But with that being said, I hate keep going back to this, but the Jacksonville game, he was doing a lot of the short game stuff. And the offensive line, we have some of the same guys that we've been trotting out now. He was somewhat protecting Carson in that sense. The short stuff to Curtis Samuel, which you did start to see, surprisingly, you started to see some of the stuff to Curtis Samuel this last week against Tennessee. Curtis Samuel made some pretty good catches for us, short stuff. There was some short game stuff in that first Jacksonville game that just somehow it seems like disappeared from the playbook. And then some of the short game stuff that I've seen of recent, specifically one play that I really dislike, and I understand you want to get the ball in playmakers' hands, but the little tunnel screen to Terry McLaurin, for whatever reason, it always looks weird. And it seems like whenever the ball gets there, there's already kind of a defender just in the area enough to where it doesn't develop correctly. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't really like that one.
No, I feel you.
I've seen there's ways to get creative, and these guys know way more than I know. I'm no offensive guru or anything like that, but you see some of the ways that the Packers and their head coach used to scheme Devontae Adams open last year. One play that I always loved was they would motion Devontae Adams multiple times. They would motion him across the line of scrimmage, and then they would motion him back, and in motion snap the ball, and that creates separation from whichever DB's checking him, and he would be able to make short catches and stuff like that. I would love to see Curtis Samuel using some of that stuff. And I feel like in the first week, it was there and it was clicking. And then, like you said, Scott Turner was able to set the table and then go over the top. And then this last week with Tennessee, they started to do a little bit of the short stuff. Towards the end of the game, you started to see Antonio Gibson, get some work in the pass game, short stuff, which is another thing that's been kind of absent from the offensive game plan. So
Yeah.
it leaves me to the point where I'm trying to understand, but at the same time, sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me. With Scott Turner, like you say, he as far as what he wants to do and what he needs to do, sometimes I feel like he gets lost in that. This offensive line in no way is capable to, have Carson Wentz doing 7-step drops and stuff like that. They refuse to move the pocket. We got Andrew Norwell. At this point, I'm calling them bad legs. After I seen him get absolutely blown up on that one play that's been going around, when I seen the play watching the game live, I'm like, are you serious? He's standing straight up. Bad knees, whatever you want to call it, and he's getting absolutely blown up. And, Carson Wentz is taking unnecessary hits. Now, my take on the offensive line, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but hey, I'm just throwing things in the bucket at this point. I wouldn't be mad. Like you said, I actually do like Cornelius Lucas at that right tackle spot. I wonder if they kicked Sam Cosmi inside when he came back. And now you have two smaller guards. You have two smaller guards in Sadiq Charles and Sam Cosmi. And then, it is what it is with our other guy, that for the most part is pretty stout in that position. And see how that works out, because at this point, who has the answers, but I wouldn't be mad if they tried that as well.
Yep.
So we play Chicago tomorrow, man, and it's really, like I said, a sad state of affair. Let me go ahead and pull the injury report up from both teams. I have boom. So we have the Washington Commanders, and then also the Chicago Bears. As you look, it might be kind of hard to see on screen, but you can tell the Washington Commanders list, of course, is way longer than the Chicago Bears. That's been the story for us thus far this season. Can you see it, Logan? Are you able to see the actual list?
It's kind of small.
Kind of small.
I could see it on my screen, but yeah.
Let me see if I can make this any bigger. Just give me 1 second.
You're good.
I'm sorry about that.
If you can read them, then it should.
Okay. All right. Cool. So this is Monday and Tuesday. Of course, we know we have on the Washington Commanders first on the list Percy Butler, dealing with a quad. Did not participate Monday or Tuesday. Most likely he's not going to play in the game tomorrow. Sam Cosmi, same deal, finger. Was there any actual report released on what actually happened to his hand?
To Cosmi?
Yeah.
I didn't see anything about that. I have no idea.
I was wondering. The reason I asked because I was when it first was reported and it said finger, I was wondering, and he had surgery on it, so I was wondering what was the significance of the injury to, for him to miss actual games. I was just wondering if you knew any more information on what that actual finger injury was. But he won't be playing on Thursday either. Jahan Dotson, as we know, hamstring, didn't participate in even either days of practice. Most likely, we're a game before the bye. We've seen an uptick in work from De'Ami Brown, who had, it sucks, man. De'Ami Brown, I got to shout him out real quick. De'Ami Brown had a absolute beautiful ball game, but of course, there's a dark cloud over his performance due to the results of it, and it sucks. But I'm happy for that young man, and seeing him, doing the stuff that the reasons we brought him here, and it looked really good. So I was happy for him. So shout out to De'Ami Brown. But with Jahan Dotson being out, seeing that performance from De'Ami Brown, it makes me feel a little bit better. And that just shows you, another, that's another thing to show you how deep this team is, with talent. For a guy to come in and have that type of production is absolutely insane. So next on the list, we have tight end Logan Thomas dealing with a calf, limited Tuesday, did not practice. Most likely he won't be going in this game, but we did get a look at our draft pick, Cole Turner. Wasn't able to connect with Carson. Well, a couple passes went his way. One was high. Carson seems to throw high a lot. One was high for a guy that's 6'5", so that one was high. But happy to be able to see him get out there, and hopefully, they actually are able to hook up this game. Next, running back Jonathan Williams, knee injury. Most likely he won't be playing in this game. He has did not practice on him as well. Jonathan Williams showed a little bit promise in that game against the Cowboys. Against the Cowboys, he had some pretty good runs. I was surprised to see that. But we got Brian Robinson back, and we'll see how he's feeling going into this game against the Chicago Bears. Looking on this list, wide receiver De'Ami Brown with a groin. I did not know that. Limited both days of practice. So, that should get a little spicy. Most likely, I think he'll go, but we shall see. Then next, we got corner Christian Holmes, hamstring limited. Christian Holmes been making a lot of rookie that's one thing I want to bring up real quick while we're talking about this. Montez Sweat had a ballerific game against the Titans, and there was one sack where he took his helmet off on the field, and that's some of the stuff that we talk about Ron Rivera, with disciplined teams and stuff like that. But that stuff right there, we all know Montez Sweat knows you're not allowed to do that. And it's just, we've been having such bad refereeing around the league in the NFL this year that they somehow missed it. Thank God. But, that stuff. And then you got, Christian Holmes. Every week it seems like he's getting some type of penalty called on him or just making some bonehead mistake. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, man. Because it's showing that, like I said, we're not a good team when it that's stuff that I started to look at the coaching. So Christian Holmes, hamstring limited. We'll see if he can go. Now, I'm gonna get your thought on this one. We got cornerback William Jackson III, this phantom back injury that he has. He was full on Monday and then limited. What's your take on this situation with him? He says to the media that, he was taken out due to a back injury that seems to be bothering him. But from the reaction of everything that I've seen and what Ron Rivera said, there was no mention of a back injury. Do you think that, they ultimately benched him because of performance, or do you think there's some validity to the back situation?
Um, just because of the way Ron Rivera talked about it, and they're obviously kind of beating around the bush in the whole situation. They wouldn't be very clear on why he was taken out of the game. He
Right.
obviously had struggles against the Cowboys. I didn't think he played as bad as people were saying, but with the penalties and just how he's playing this season, he didn't look what we expected in terms of performance. I don't know. I think that there is some validity to him being dealing with injuries. I think there's been a lingering issue, from the beginning of camp that he's been kind of dealing with, and maybe that has an impact on his play. I think in my mind, if I had to kind of just free ball exactly, I'd probably say that this injury isn't serious, but it's kind of been there, and it hasn't been enough to take him out of games. But to this point, they're like, you're obviously not yourself, and that whether it's this injury or you're just being bad, we're out because you're a liability. So I don't know. It could be a mix of both, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Um, one thing I would say, and regardless of the back injury or not, uh, it's disappointing where your second, I believe, second highest paid player on your roster currently um, has looked. I mean, just even looking subpar to me is not good enough. You were brought in here.
Yeah.
You were one of the higher rated corners coming into. I mean, when you came to Washington, and I have a couple friends that are actually real Bengals fans, and they didn't seem to be too upset when he walked. And it seems that I seen a clip of Pac-Man Jones telling William Jackson III basically that he got cooked up in that Dallas game. Um, and I think that a lot of times with
Mm,
him, he doesn't. This is just like I said. I play football. You play football. For whatever reason, I don't see that dog in him. It doesn't seem
yeah.
like he's the type. It's like he's just there to collect a paycheck in my eyes. Like, it's almost like, okay, if I make a play, I make a play. If
Mm,
not, it is what it is. That's just the vibes I get from him. I do not get good vibes from him. And his performance has not shown anything different. I don't know contractually what we look like, far as are we able to move on from him this off season. But if we can without taking a big loss financially, we need to go ahead and do that. I am a firm believer. I've seen enough from him in my evaluation. Next,
yeah.
linebacker David Mayo, hamstring limited. Um, I think David Mayo will go. It was a short week. So a lot of these, I know the Monday practice, I believe they didn't even have shells on. So they're kind of trying to take it light on these guys before this Thursday night game. So with the limited, most of these guys I see limited, De'Ami Brown, Christian Holmes, uh, David Mayo, I think they will most likely go. And then also because you have Carson Wentz on here with right shoulder and limited, but he spoke about, just being sore and the shoulder being fine. So, like I said, the limited ones, I think most of these guys will go, but we shall see. Now, diving into the Chicago Bears short list, linebacker Matt Adams, calf, he is on IR, so he will not be going. And we know that the Bears, they play good defense. That's one thing the Bears do. They play good defense.
Yep.
They seem to always have an identity. Every year with the Chicago Bears, they seem to put pretty respectable defense on the field. Wide receiver N'Keal Harry, ankle IR, and then Tuesday it says limited. So that situation's a little funky, but like you said, Justin Fields, they don't throw the ball a lot in Chicago. With our luck, we will be the team that he goes bombs over Baghdad on, but hopefully not.
Yeah.
So I'm not really too worried about anything, far as the passing game with them. I mean, outside of Darnell Mooney, he's starting to come on up as of late. Darnell Mooney, he's made, I think in the last two games, had some pretty good catches and longer catches from Justin Fields. So, like you said, you brought up a very valid point. Justin Fields seems to be gaining confidence, and that sucks for us, being in such a low spot and now coming into a Thursday night game. So we shall see what they're able to do in the passing game. Then DB Dane Kirkestink hamstring full. He's gonna go, and then DB Jalen Johnson quad, but it says full. So like I said, their defense is one of their strong points, but their injury report list isn't that long-winded, and most of their guys seem to be ready to go. So we shall see how the football gods swing this game. But before we get out of here, Logan, let's go ahead and go and do it. I'm going to do my score prediction, and then also you can lay your score prediction on us. For me, I'm going to say, surprisingly, I think we actually pull this one out. I think this is a low scoring affair. I think we win this game 17-13. It's not going to be an exciting ball game by any means, but I think we'll do just enough, hopefully, to squeeze this one out. Starting, 2-4 isn't exciting to me by any means, but I think we're able to hopefully squeak this one out before the bye. And I think we win this one 17-13. And I think we try to actually focus on a little more running the ball this week. Go ahead and give me your take.
Yeah, I feel the same. I definitely, kind of surprisingly, I feel like we're going to win this game. I think that, again, with what you're saying, our luck guys usually kind of the weak spots start kind of getting better for teams at playing them. But I think that the way we're matched up, I think this is going to be a good game for us, especially last week. I'm going to say low scoring, so I'll say like 21-15. I think that's a reasonable score. I think that's usually how our wins turn out. I think if we can it's better and kind of make sure that we're not giving up too many big plays, then it should be a decent game. And I think we'll pull one away. I think it'll definitely give us some confidence as well, finishing out these last couple games. And it's not good starting 2-4. Could have been 3-3 would have looked so much better to me. Although we still obviously got some big holes. I just think 3-3 would look good. Either way, 2-4, nothing. I do think we're going to win this game. I would be extremely, extremely disappointed if we lost this game. And although I'm not ready to throw away season at all yet, but that would kind of push me that way if we lost that game, especially in a bad manner. So those are my thoughts right now.
Okay, cool. Before we get out of here, what I want to do is I didn't get to all the comments, but I want to give shout outs to V1K1 Gaming for coming to check out the stream, hanging out with me and Logan. Also, my man Big Money Sonny showing love, checking out the stream as well. Miss Perry with some very good points she made throughout the stream. And then also my man Vanguardian TV came out and hung out with us as well. Really appreciate the support, coming to hang out with me at CommandRespectTV, and then also my guy Logan on the channel. Again, love having him on. We will be doing this again whenever me and his schedule can align. Appreciate all you guys for coming to hang out with us. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Hopefully we can squeeze this win out. We shall see. But ultimately, I'm going to watch the game. And, over the last couple games, I haven't even been really too torn up about it. I just refuse to put myself in that mind state anymore after seeing some of the stuff, the way we're losing. That's the most part. Like, it's like sometimes it's not even competitive. It's just like, what am I watching? So it is what it is. Logan, really appreciate you coming to hang out with me, man. With that being said, gonna go ahead and get out of here. It's your boy RVA from VA Richmond, to be exact. Peace.